What's good, everybody? I'm Keandre, this is Hoop Intellect, and welcome back to the channel. Now, everybody knows who the established best players in the league are, but for a lot of those guys, they had a long development road or a change in opportunity that allowed them to blossom to the players that we see today. You've got a guy like Giannis who took a great set of physical tools and attributes, matched it with an unprecedented work ethic, and then within about 3 to 4 years, he became an all-star caliber player, and then turned that into, the two-time MVP, NBA champion level player that we see him as today. And then you've got guys like Victor Oladipo and Julius Randle, who were high lottery picks, had their ups and downs throughout their career, had some injuries, but eventually ascended into all-star level players much later in their careers than we usually see. In this video, we'll talk about 6 of the players most ready to take that next step in their careers and contend for the Most Improved Player award, and several others who should make great improvements as well. Those 6 that we choose will have in-depth follow-up videos coming after this, or they're already up, just depending on when you're watching. So look around the channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date on everything going on this channel. But without further delay, let's go ahead and get into that top 6. The first player on this list is Denver's Michael Porter Jr. Everything is aligning for MPJ to really break out this year. He was the #1 player in high school for a reason, and he's just an unbelievable scoring talent who complements Jokic pretty well. And with Jamal Murray going to miss at least the first half of the season, if not more, he should be in pole position to get an uptick in production and likely keep that going even as Jamal gets reacclimated. He averaged 19 points and 7 rebounds on 54% from the field and nearly 45% from 3. I know he gets a lot of buzz already, but man, I feel like that deserves just a bit more attention than it got, being that it was his first full season with legitimate and consistent minutes in the Nuggets rotation. He took just 13 shots a game last season. We can reasonably expect that to go up, and I think we could legitimately see him averaging about 25 a night for a Nuggets team that should still be a Western Conference staple, putting him right in the mix for the award. His ability to create shots at that size is rivaled by few in the league, and he's already a tremendous mover without the ball. To me, Michael Porter Jr. is the candidate with the most potential to run away with this award, all the way to possibly being Denver's leading scorer this season. Next on the list, we have Houston's Kevin Porter Jr. KPJ has had such a strange winding road in his 2 years in the league, including getting traded for basically nothing after having some issues within the locker room and some off the court ones as well. The same dude who gave Drew Holiday and the NBA champion Bucks 50 points and 11 dimes also played against his future teammate Jalen Green in the G League in the same season. He's likely going to be the lead offensive guy on a team with little to no expectations, just giving him a ton of freedom to work. He's one of the best shot creators among young guys in the league and has more than flashed the ability to create good looks for others as well. He should explode in year 3, having career highs across the board and definitely crossing the 20 points per game threshold, keeping him in that mix for the award. Darius Garland was the 5th pick in the 2019 NBA draft and the first guard to be selected after Ja Morant. He had a very rough rookie season. I thought people were a bit too critical considering the physical adjustment that it would be for him and just sort of the lack of attention given to the flashes that he did show. He already had a 5.2 assists and 5% field goal percentage increase in year 2, but I think he'll be significantly more comfortable this year and should complement everyone on this roster well, especially Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, though probably not as much at the same time. And then the addition of Ricky Rubio could unlock some of his ability to play off the ball and his effectiveness from deep, which I still think is a bit underrated. Keep an eye out for Garland this season and pay attention to his masterful floater game in the pick and roll and his overall offensive brilliance as one of the shiftiest and most creative guards in the league, as he has a chance to assert himself as one of the best to the next class of guards. Now, I won't lie to you, DeJounte Murray has been on this type of list for me for about 3 years now, but I've never been more confident that this is his breakout season. A couple things. The Spurs just lost DeMar DeRozan, Rudy Gay, and earlier in the year, LaMarcus Aldridge. This team is going to look significantly different next year from a usage perspective, and in addition to a few of his teammates that we'll talk about later, DeJounte should see a bump in the team's reliance on him. If you watched him down the stretch of the 2018 season, it really felt like 2019 could be the year where he takes some sort of leap, but he tore his ACL right before the regular season started and was out the entire year. He bounced back in 2020, making big improvements everywhere and playing a bigger role than he ever had before. And then he built on that in 2021, becoming one of the league's most lethal mid-range shooters, taking more shots and playing more minutes than ever before. He's a former all-defense guy who has made steady improvements offensively. He's one of the more talented all-around guards in the league. If we can see him hit threes at just a slightly higher rate, I think we see an easy 25-5 guy who is a pest defensively, and we don't see that around the league too often. Next up, we have Toronto's Obi Ananovi. Ananovi has been on this gradually good trajectory as he's never been worse than a contributor for his entire career, mainly because of what he can do on the defensive end. I think he's undeniably on the short list of best defenders in the league, and that's an area where he'll always excel. But the next step for him is just continuing to develop as an offensive player across the board. The opportunity should be there this season with Kyle Lowry gone, Pascal Siakam injured, and the only other exceptional player on his team being Fred VanVleet. Ananovi has the reins sitting right in front of him. He's made definite strides as a ball handler from the beginning of his career to now, but the thing that'll separate him going forward is how much better he can get there. He's a definite candidate to break out next year and take home the most improved award, even if his team isn't the most successful. Now, rounding out the top 6, we have New Orleans' Nikhil Alexander-Walker. He looked much more comfortable in year 2, raising his numbers across the board, and he should be licking his chops at the opportunity to really assert himself in year 3. He averaged over 17 a game as a starter last season, and more than anything, I just have a feeling about this one. Nas a guy who can create shots for himself, knock down threes, and has improved defensively. The room to operate alongside Zion and Ingram in the starting lineup is there, or even if he's that first guy off the bench if they opt for Devontae and Josh Hart, or a different combination, I'd be surprised if he's not a huge part of their team. The Pelicans want to make the playoffs, and at this point we kind of know what their stars are going to give you, but guys like Alexander Walker kind of hold the keys for their ceiling. I don't know if he's ultimately going to propel them to that level in the West, but I think he'll be much improved in an area of need and ready to contribute on a very high level. Be sure to stay locked into the channel and hit that notification bell to be here when the detailed videos on that top 6 drops. Or take a look around, they might already be up. Now on to some of the other candidates I think can make big waves in this upcoming season. Deandre Hunter's absence might not have been completely felt given the amount of success Atlanta enjoyed in the postseason, but I promise he's a huge piece of their future and would have made them an even tougher out last year if he would have got to keep playing beyond the first round. Before he got injured for the first time in late January last year, Hunter was averaging about 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists on 52, 38, 88 splits, and looking like every bit of that top 5 pick from 2019. If he can stay healthy, he's the perfect combo forward to have alongside a guy like Trae Young. He defends, he can knock down open threes, and showed a bit more confidence and capability off the bounce than I ever imagined he would. Now, some of that was a bit unnecessary at times for his current skill level, but the possibility of it being real for a 23-year-old going forward is absolutely there, and it makes him one of the guys to watch this upcoming season. Speaking of high lottery picks, Jaron Jackson Jr. should still be mentioned in these conversations, though he's kinda already established himself. His torn meniscus sorta threw off the progression that I thought he would have in year 3, but I believe he can get back on track in a big way. If you've seen Jaron play, you know he's got a unique skill set as a 6'11 guy who can really shoot the 3, and while he's fell a bit short of his expectations defensively so far in his career, I still think he can be really effective there. Improvements to his fouling issues, getting stronger, continuing to evolve offensively, and simply just taking full advantage of his skills as a 5-man should stamp him as one of the better young bigs for those who didn't already have him there. Jordan Poole is kind of made for this Warriors team as an off guard who can create for himself in a big way. Now, if we want to talk about bad rookie seasons, Poole's was about as bad as I've seen recently. That Golden State team was horrible. He was a rookie not exactly ready to play 20 minutes a night, and it showed, but it was beneficial for him. He came back, shot significantly better from the field, he looked stronger, still never lacked confidence, and hit shots in numerous ways. He was consistently in the teens down the stretch of the season, and I think he's going to do more than build on that in the future, especially with Klay out to start it off. With Kawhi Leonard likely missing a good chunk of the season, the Clippers are going to need a few guys to step up in his absence, and Terrence Mann really needs to be one of them. He's been more of an energy guy so far in his career, but I think he has the potential to get into the mid-teens as a scorer and just have an overall bigger impact on the game than he has thus far. If he can continue to improve as a shooter, especially on more volume, and take strides as an overall playmaker and decision maker on offense, he should be in the mix as one of the most improved, even though actually winning it might take a leap on a level that he's not 100% ready for just yet. We talked about this earlier with Dejounte Murray, but Kelton Johnson has a terrific chance to blossom this season with the growth of opportunity. We talked about this earlier with Dejounte Murray, but Kelton Johnson has a terrific chance to blossom this season with the departure of some key guys on his team. He's coming off an impromptu gold medal run with Team USA, which was only positive for a 21-year-old, and I think he'll carry what he learned there into this season. He's a big body wing who always brings the energy, plays multiple positions, attacks the basket, and does a lot of the dirty work. If it's not this year, maybe it's next, but he'll only be 22 this season, and for him, hitting more shots from the perimeter, slowing the game down, and making better decisions is the next step. In the same vein, both Lonnie Walker and Derek White deserve at least a mention since we're talking about the Spurs. Both of them are currently in two very different stages of their development, but just in general, whoever separates themselves in San Antonio should see a good amount of praise. Darius basically needs some more attention, and he'll probably earn it this season. He's a streaky combo forward who has been slowly improving during his 2 years in Oklahoma City. He hasn't had any one area that he can hang his hat on just yet, but he's shown a lot that I'm intrigued by and think he can capitalize on. So I'm a big fan of his game and think he has the tools and opportunity to establish himself as a true core piece of this team going forward. His outside shot, among a few other things, is going to hold a lot of weight in his progression, so we'll watch how that develops first. Now we'll finish it off with a name that you might not hear as often during these conversations, and that is Nas Read. After somehow going undrafted, Nas contributed in his first year and came back a year later already looking much improved. The Minnesota big man, also known as Big Jelly, should get a good amount of time in the front court this season, whether that be alongside Karl Anthony Towns or as his primary backup. And I just think he's one of the more skilled bigs in the league that has the potential to surprise every time you turn on a T-Wolves game. And if anybody was wondering about the possible second-year players, if Devontae Graham can't win after he has a year 1 to year 2 improvement, nobody really will. But there are still several guys from last year's rookie class who should make huge improvements in year 2. Now, while I could go on and on about some of the young and up-and-coming players in this league, we gotta stop somewhere. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below some players who you think will contend for the most improved player next year. I'm Keandre, this is Hoop Intellect, and I'm out.
I lost some things I thought were mine, and now I'm gone.